Okay, thank you very much, Sasha, and thank you very much for inviting me here today to talk about my research. As Sasha already introduced, I will be talking not about smart meters. I will be talking about the English and the Welsh plastic bag charge that have been introduced in the last 5 years. Of course, it was trialed by Wales 5 years ago in 2011, and then England followed as the last of the British countries in October 2015. I think it is relevant for today because it is something that human behavior is about. So many of the behaviors we show, they're not really thought about, but they're quite habitual. And I think what the plastic bag charge shows is that you can change these habits if you want to. And 5p in itself would be sufficient. I see the plastic bag charge very much in what we heard today, this morning by John and by Tim about behavioral insights and nudge. Whereas, you know, in theory, it is an economic instrument. So you're having 5p on a plastic bag. But the effects are much bigger than you would expect from economic theory. And I think the reason why it works is because it disrupts behavior in a very particular way. So what I'll do today in this presentation is talk to you about habits and habit disruption, and also methodology to study the effectiveness of the charges like the ones in Wales and in England. Because again, as we saw this morning, you would want to see where it's effective or not. And I labeled this the devolution lab because it's got to do with devolved policy. And then I'll show a case study on the single-use plastic bag charge that were introduced across the UK. So when we're talking about habits, you know, it's got different meanings. We think about things that we do frequently. It's a custom, it's a practice, or a routine. Sometimes it's referred to something like a dominant disposition. So someone, you know, has a habit to look at the bright side of things, or a bad habit. So she's got a 10-a-day habit, things like that. But from a psychological perspective, it's not only about the things that we do frequently. It's a necessary condition, but it's also about behavior that's automatic. So behavior we don't think about. So we don't deliberate about whether we take make a cup of coffee or something like that. When we get up, it's something that we make. Now, also, when we go to bed, we automatically brush our teeth. You know, we've learned that we don't really think about it every time we start brushing our teeth. And finally, it's also about being context skewed. Yeah, so habits we perform at very specific situations, at very specific times, with specific people, etc. So the cup of coffee we do in the morning, brushing our teeth we do in the morning as well as in the evening. So basically what you could do to break habits is to work with these three pillars. Yeah, you can make sure that people can't perform a behavior. So you're trying to phase out this behavior. You can also try to disrupt the automaticity, so to make people stop and think about the behavior they're performing. And finally, you can change the context. And the last one, that is what a lot of research has been done by colleagues at Bath University. So for example, when you have a major life event, moving house, having a baby, getting married, these are windows of opportunity where you can change behavior. So in this particular study, you can see that there's not really a link between environmental concern and using a car, or let's say a sustainable transport choice. And in fact, the people who are environmentally concerned often are more likely to choose a car than the ones that are not environmentally concerned. But the people who have moved house recently, you can see that it suddenly switches. Yeah, so then you have this window of opportunity to think about the choices you're making, and then you can make that in line with your values and your concerns. But I would like to talk to you about disrupting automaticity. And that is how I see the plastic bag charge, how they're working. Yeah, so here you've got a different one. So it was introduced in Wales in 2011, followed by Northern Ireland in 2013. In 2014 was the Scottish plastic bag charge, and in October in England. The nice thing about this is that it's first being trialed in one of the British countries, and followed by the other ones. So this is what I call the devolution lab, in the sense that you have a phased introduction, and then you can see whether they are effective or not. So what we've seen this morning, testing whether, you know, a policy, whether it works, the thing you can do here is to look at behavior in the different countries. I see it as an opportunity to test behavior change in real-life field experiments. Yeah, so you have a test bed, and then it can be rolled out to the rest of the country. So the study that we're conducting at the moment is a secondary data analysis of the Understanding Society survey, in which we evaluated the Welsh charge of 2011. Then we conducted a field study to evaluate the 2015 English charge, and at the same time we conducted in-depth interviews with people in the 3 British countries. So with the Understanding Society survey, this is one of the largest panel surveys in the world. It's about 40,000 people. We looked at behaviors in 2009 and 10 and 2012 and 13. So the first wave was before any of the charges were introduced, and then the fourth wave in 2012 and 13 was after the Welsh charge, but then before the Scottish and English charge. And if you're looking at the behaviors in the different countries, you can see before it was similar. Less than half the people had a habit of bringing their own bags to the shops. And in 2012 and 13, you can see a spike in Wales and a reduction in Scotland and England. Yeah, so very effective. Then the study we're conducting now, funded by the ESRC, we asked Ipsos Mori to conduct an online panel survey, again before and after the English plastic bag charge, so about a month before and about a month after. And alongside that, we conducted in-depth interviews with about 50 people. Yeah. Here you can see the results. You can see that both for the main shop and for the top-up shop, you can see that England falls in line with Scotland and Wales. Yeah. We expected the effect to be smaller in the top-up shop because, you know, that is not very habitual and you may forget your bag, but there we found a stronger effect. And it's the same with plastic bags. So before and after, you can see a substantial reduction in bringing plastic bags or using plastic bags for the main shop and for the top-up shop. Most importantly, I think, is when you're looking at habit strength, so the automaticity by which the behavior is performed. So it was quite low in Wales and Scotland before, already before, and you can see a big reduction here in England for both, again, the main shop and the top-up shop. Although it's not completely at the level as in Wales and Scotland yet, but you know, this is only 1 month after it was introduced. Then finally, some qualitative evidence here. So we conducted those interviews, and you can see that people really talk about using bags, plastic bags, or you know, their own bags from a habit perspective. Yeah, so they say that there's nothing that makes me just remember to bring my own bag, and it's very habitual just to grab one of those when you're at a till. Whereas after, when we ask, you know, how many bags did you buy, people say, oh, actually not that many, because I'm now in the habit of bringing my own bag. I've got a bag in my car, so that is when I use it, and I don't really have to think about it. So what can we conclude from this study? Plastic bag charges, I would say, are extremely effective. It's only 5p, but you reduce plastic bag use by about 70 to 80%. Well, I think that is worth it. But also what I think is very interestingly is that the behavior change is immediate. Yeah, immediate after it's introduced, people you know, change their behavior and they develop a habit of bringing their own bags. So within a month, you've got a habit of using your own bag. Something that I didn't present here, but which I think is also very important, is that we didn't only find behavior change, but people also became more positive about the charge itself. Yeah, so we found more support after it was introduced, so when people experience that it's actually not such a big thing. Yeah? And then also attitudes about its effect became far more positive. And then finally, you may have seen the headlines in the media. Armageddon was predicted, but that fortunately did not happen. Yeah? So thank you very much.